Welcome and thank you for joining me for what is the 100th personal pondering in the Psalms. It's been wonderful and hugely encouraging to hear of how numerous people have been helped and edified through this little ministry. And I myself have been greatly encouraged as I've worked my way through the Psalms in this devotional way. But for this 100th edition, we're in Psalm 67, one of the most neglected Psalms, I feel, of the whole Psalter. But one which is a little gem. It's one of the great missionary psalms of the Bible, a theme that is evident in the center of the psalm where verse 3 is repeated in verse 5. Let the peoples praise your God. Let all the peoples praise you. That's the burden of the psalmist here, that the gospel might go to the ends of the earth so that all the peoples might praise him. It follows naturally from Psalms 65 and 66, where we saw that God is due the praise of the whole of creation. So here is a prayer for God to bless his people, but not as an end, but as a means to an end. So let me divide the psalm up to show this progression of thought. In verse 1 we have the request. May God be gracious to us and bless us. Make his face to shine upon us. There's the echo of the old Aaronic blessing from the book of Numbers. God to be gracious and favourable, to smile with blessing upon his people. But that's the request. But here's the reason. The reason is, look at verse 2, that your way may be known on earth, your saving power among all nations. There's the first reason. It's that the good news of the gospel go to the ends of the earth. It's an example of Hebrew parallelism here in verse 2. So the second half mirrors the first half. So God's way is the way of salvation. So this is nothing less than a prayer for the evangelism of all the nations of the world. Now the second reason why the request of verse 1 is made is so that as the blessing goes to all the nations of the world, they too might praise and bless God. That's what comes in verses 3 to 5. So we ask for a blessing, that we might be a blessing to others, that they might bless God, so that, and here's the result of all of this, God will return his blessing to us. So you see the cyclical process here. Oh God, bless us, that we might be a blessing to others, that they might bless you. And as they bless you, you will continue to bless your people. And that's evident in the last two verses. The earth has yielded its increase. God, our God, shall bless us. The idea from the Old Testament that the harvest and the material provision for God's people was the evidence, the sign of God's favour and approval and blessing upon his people. So it's a wonderfully unselfish, God-orientated, God-glorifying prayer. Oh God, bless us. Make your face shine upon us. But do so that we might channel that blessing to the ends of the earth. You know, in the Middle East there are two great expanses of waters, the Dead Sea and the Sea of Galilee. The Dead Sea is a huge sea. It covers some 300 square miles, and various rivers flow into it, including the Jordan, which alone spills 6 million tons of water into the Dead Sea every 24 hours. Then you have the Sea of Galilee. It's a much smaller expanse, and through which only the River Jordan flows. Now in the Dead Sea, nothing living can exist there. All the fish carried into it by the River Jordan die. Whereas in the Sea of Galilee, the much smaller expanse of water, there is an extraordinary profusion of fish. And that's why in Jesus' day, the great variety and abundance of fish in the lake attracted to its shores a much larger and more varied population than existed anywhere else in Palestine. It's one of the reasons that Galilee was called Galilee of the Gentiles. So many people were brought into that part of the world because of the abundance of life in the Sea of Galilee. So two seas in the same part of the world, but very different. One a place where nothing lives, the other teeming with life and affecting many other places far away. What was the difference? Well, the Dead Sea, rivers flow into it, but there's no outlet from it. And the water becomes stagnant and evaporates. Whereas the Sea of Galilee, the river flows through the sea, keeping it fresh and alive and teeming with life. Isn't that a great illustration of the spiritual principle taught us in Psalm 67. Oh God, bless us, not that we might be a reservoir of blessing, but that we might be a channel of blessing to the ends of the earth. May God answer that prayer in your life and in my life and in the lives of our churches in great abundance. The Lord bless you.